Hi guys, how are you doing? It's Ammonia here, back again with another episode, this time 15th episode. Since we're getting into this autumn wintry feeling, as you can see on my fleece, because I'm freezing here, I thought I'd dedicate this episode to the idea of mystery and erotica. I would like to dive into my relationship with erotic magazines, how we are presented with erotica today, how it relates to photography, my photography. So let's jump straight in. So I don't know if you remember throughout your early teenage years what you were reading, what kind of magazines you were going to these magazine stands to desperately buy. For me, it was for sure these German Bravo magazines. Um, I was anxiously waiting for every single issue. I was just stacking them up, all these posters with Eminem and I don't know, Ever Lavigne, all these people that I love, and there were all these different comics, erotic comics, or they give you a free lip gloss or a t-shirt. I feel like now as an adult, I rarely experience the same excitement um, when going through magazines. Everything feels so refined, overly serious, and there is only one way or accept one acceptable way how you can engage with a magazine. And the trashiness of the old magazine is something that um, that was their charm. That was something that I feel is really missing, and they were my guilty pleasures so much. um, Now, because I work in the magazine business, I think like, okay, what would it take for me to buy one today? um, and when I try to make publications, I um, try to make them with this idea to invoke the same obsessive feeling that I had when buying a magazine. But it's very hard because magazine production became very expensive and people are not so much into print anymore. Like, if you go to a cheap gas station, you find all these glossy magazines featuring naked women, and well, they were always hidden in these separate sections. Now they don't even hide it anymore. And as a kid, um, I always look at them with so much curiosity and guilt, because I sense it was something forbidden that I cannot look at. And in Czech Republic, it's called Trafika. It's like a newsstand, and I was always visiting it to search for new magazines. And there was this section with these erotic ones, and I always like look at them. And the guy who was working is like, "Oh no, you cannot look," and because I kept insisting, "Can I have a look?" And one time he allowed me to have a look, but I realized, at the end the magic was kind of gone because these magazines, um, they really had nothing to offer me because they were made for heterosexual men and not me. Even though I was super young, I was like, what is the interest actually in this? I don't know. And of course, in high school, it was more that Playboy magazines would circulate around and with the boys. And I remember one time I also took one to peek in and to see, like, wow, these women look freaking stunning. They all have beautiful bodies. Their skin looks super smooth, which I realized later is all Photoshop. Um, so I imagined, oh, they must smell amazing too, but I didn't really see myself in them. Um, so thinking back on all these engagements with, let's say, erotic magazines of the time, the real game changer though for me was, I don't even know how I encountered it, but I think in a museum, was a Playboy in Braille. Um, Even though I cannot read in Braille, I thought it was such a clever um, way how you can engage with erotica as something beyond the visual, how you can touch the pages, how to touch the paper, and how the haptic sensitivity is so important for triggering something in your mind to trigger sensations, desires, um, to imagine things. And let's say reading with your hands was really like a transformative thing for me, and it showed me how deeply personal and suggestive eroticism can really be. And I still think it's one of the sexiest publications out there, just because. Um, and you know, like, I always think how we came to the point where we are now. Of course, we went through this sexual revolution, where we now have this freedom to talk about previously taboo topics without shame or guilt. Let's say this is the situation in majority of Europe. But I feel like here we also reach a strange new point, that there is so much openness around sexuality, that explicitness started to feel really shoved in our faces. And ironically, this overexposure has led to the resurgence of prudishness. And personally, for me, like, I feel that I want to choose what I see, who I see, and what I find erotic, and I don't need to be forced into witnessing everyone else's private lives. And sometimes it feels like an obligation at this point, where kinks, fetishes, polygamy, and our sex lives have been mainstreamed into spectacles of for entertainment. Basically, they're heavily monetized and kind of drained of mystery. Yet I feel it's the mystery and connection that people are really, really craving. um, so this, let's say, this commodification, this word, this commodification, yes, this commodification of sexuality and desire, um, ironically became part of the same system that they originally resisted. Um, so sexuality, which was a side of resistance, has now become absorbed into machinery of consumerism. And the more visible you are, the more you allow yourself to be controlled. This constant visibility, let's say going to, I don't know, sex parties on social media, or even in the way how we present our desires, this all opens doors to surveillance and judgment. And the system thrives on controlling what it can see, turning even our most intimate experiences into data, trends, and products. And for me, desire, erotica, and product cannot go hand in hand, because it will never lead to satisfaction. So visibility no longer is equal with liberation. It's just another way to be confined. That's at least how I understand it. And from how I try to analyze it recently, because it just feel more and more unnatural for me to engage with such content. Because for me, sexuality is something extremely personal and diverse. It's instead of this consumerism, it's about intimacy, pleasure, and connection. And I prefer to keep some things obscure, some desires that are unsaid, and some pleasures that are secret. And this is not out of prudishness, but because I really value the power of subtlety and sacredness of private experiences. So here the problem isn't really openness, but it's more that we have lost the balance between what's shared and what's sacred. And also the same with publications, since people, I already said, like, people are engaging less with print. There are simply too many choices available. There's too much content. It's all very, very distracting, and it's making us feel really confused, or at least I am confused, about my own desires. I don't, at some point I feel like I don't even know what we want or desire anymore. So even though we get this illusion of choice, it doesn't really bring us the pleasure we expected from it, and that's very frustrating, no? So where can we find erotica today? I feel there are many outlets. We just have to look for them harder. I remember in Buenos Aires. One of my first days, I went to this antique market, and the first store I delved into, I found this massive box which said happiness box, and I opened it, and it was a huge erotic archive from Buenos Aires from the 60s and 70s, with people wearing masks, on orgies, sex parties, all these things, and totally unimaginable for me. Thinking that people have been doing these things long, long, long time ago like that, and also portray themselves like a important archive or important historical document. And the mystery and the surprise was something that I felt was really okay. This is really erotic. Just how I found it, how I the experience of going through it. So maybe just go to some random antique market. You can get surprised what you can find there. um, and erotica can be very simple too. Maybe you overhear. I cannot speak English today. Sorry. Maybe you overhear a conversation of someone in a restaurant, in a bar, and that can also transport you somewhere. Or you exchange glances with somebody you find attractive on a metro, or you just cross paths, and you think about the encounter after. Um, Maybe you receive an unfinished text message, so you wonder what was going to happen. There's all these situations that we stop considering erotic because we just go with the flow, this fast pace. But if we just slow down for a little bit and think about these spontaneous encounters, we can find a lot of erotica there. Or if you want to go more intense, you can find a hole in the bathroom where you didn't expect it to be. So you can either peek through, or you can decide to stick something in, and who knows what's gonna happen. But these encounters, I'm not sure if they happen very much in Europe. I would suggest more like different continents. So yeah, there's a lot of erotica everywhere, but it's more hidden, and that's the exciting part. You have to search harder, go beyond what is being served to you on a silver plate. In the end, these things are fast dopamine fixes. They're fast pleasure, and they're not necessarily erotica because they don't let you imagine anything anymore, because you can see everything and you don't have to search for it. So it's very not counterproductive, but like it doesn't work, at least how I see it. And to relate this a little bit to my photography, or how do I try to insert erotica in my work, is that I always try to insert the subtle provocation in my photographs. I don't think my images are explicit. They are nude, but I don't find them explicit. I like to work with environments and playful details because they can set the scene for you to imagine something more. And it's an invitation for you to project your own desires on the image. And because there is openness, and because not everything is served for you, you have to figure things out, or you can see what detail is triggering you. um, it allows you to project, and everybody can project something else. And that's at least the open space that I try to put in my work. Because if I show you everything, then you can just continue scrolling and consuming other content. But I just like to trigger people's imaginations, and sometimes also critical thinking, I hope. But I never know what are the reactions, or I cannot put that intentionally into my work, so everybody can react however they want. So what could be the takeaways of today's episode? I feel the main takeaway is that erotica mostly thrives in things that are not fully revealed. The allure of mystery, suggestion, and the unsaid. What happens when desire meets this unknown? Think about what are the triggers for you, and don't let the system tell you what you should desire, or how you should desire things, people, situations. And you know, we really forgot how to get lost for a moment, or in just to get in our thoughts, how to imagine, slow down for a little bit, and it will allow us to understand ourselves more. And erotica in general just became way more complex and harder to find. Um, and you know, maybe you'll find erotica in something messy, unpredictable, and mysterious. And what that is something that you you figure out. And this is an invitation for you to um, feel the urge to discover what is it that you lately find erotic, and beyond what is being told to us. um, and I find that process very, very, very fun, and I'm sure you will find your thing. So I hope you enjoy, and be safe and warm, and I'm sending you big hugs from Paris. Ciao, ciao.